Now, how are these related or different from each other? Let's understand that. We have batch here, stochastic, and mini batch. Time to reach minima in case of batch is the highest. Stochastic is fastest. Mini batch is also fast comparatively. It depends on how you are defining the batches as well. The reason stochastic gradient descent is fast is because in every iteration, in every row, the parameters are getting updated very frequently. So the number of updates that are happening is very, very high compared to the batch gradient descent. Whereas the disadvantage is stochastic gradient descent has a high amount of fluctuation. The beta parameters can fluctuate very high. Even after reaching the minima, it can go further ahead, and then over a period of iterations, it typically settles somewhere near the minima. That's typically how the stochastic gradient descent functions. Whereas the way that batch gradient descent learns is quite stable. If you look at the way cost function varies, it keeps decreasing. The steps that is taking keeps decreasing as it approaches the minimum most point. The width of the step that is being taken by batch gradient descent it itself is controlled by the learning rate parameter. We have seen this before. So relatively, when compared to stochastic gradient descent, the fluctuations is much lower. Naturally, mini batch gradient descent lies somewhere between the batch and stochastic. Now, the good thing about stochastic gradient descent is it is highly resistant to local minimas. Imagine the profile of the cost function has local minimas like this. Suppose this is your minima. It is not to be assumed that a batch gradient descent is not capable of finding the local minima. Batch gradient descent can certainly find the local minima, but by design, the stochastic gradient descent after reaching this point still keeps on fluctuating. Like I said, it still keeps on finding out different values of beta, and then the chances of finding the next local minima is higher. Ultimately, it finds the global minima after performing a good number of searches. This is of stochastic gradient descent.